Isley Brothers, Donnie Albert, the singer, the Chantels, Chuck Berry, Frankie Lyman, Cadillacs. People couldn't wait to go there.
Georgie Woods, he was just so handsome. He was a legend in Philadelphia. So just being on a Georgie Woods rock and roll show, he felt important.
I'll never forget it. I can see me at the Uptown, and my name was in the marquee. And I said, wow, that's Barbara Mason, right? That's me.
When you walk in the door, that smell of that nice, fresh popcorn being popped. I'm telling you, that was the greatest thing since peanut butter.
We did not make a lot of money, but it was the most joyous time in our life because we loved what we did and we loved where we did it.
The Uptown started in the 20s as a movie theater, and even in like working class neighborhoods, you're getting pretty ornate theaters. It is what the movie experience is in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in the United States. It was the chief form of entertainment, and it was really an affordable luxury.
The feel of North Broad Street in the late 20s was a feeling of action and a feeling of change. Personal entertainment exploded with the creation of the motion picture industry and in particular talkies. Theater was designed by the firm of Magaziner, Eberhard, and Harris. The leading principal in that architectural firm was Louis Magaziner. The style of the Uptown Theater is a combination. On the outside, it's been described as an Aztec revival with the brickwork. On the inside, it is all Art Deco. This image of the foyer with a fantastic Art Deco lighting fixture, as well as the mural over the doors, is indicative of what they would find once they got through those doors into the main auditorium.
If you wanted to go up to the balcony, there were 2 sets of steps. You come in the front door, you go up this way. This is an awesome theater.
Red draperies, soft cush seating. It was just beautiful. Thick carpet on the floors, beautiful marbling. Antique ceilings, bathrooms were beautiful.
Because even the lesser spots in the theater got first-end treatment. There were retiring rooms for the ladies, retiring rooms for the men. Between the retiring room for the ladies was a cosmetic room so that they could fix their makeup before they headed back out into the theater. The Broad Street subway had just opened the year before, and so while the Uptown was under construction, they actually had a station stop that went directly into the theater building.
You could take the subway and get off right in the theater. So, I mean, that was the sweet thing about it.
For the first time in history, beautiful, extraordinarily ornate interiors were being created for the general masses, not just for very wealthy or aristocratic folks.
The Steeples first got into the entertainment business with movie houses. That would have been the first decade of the 20th century. We also had theaters that produced live entertainment, and in Philadelphia they included the Pearl, the Carmen, the Roxy, Nixon Grand, the Faze, and of course later the Uptown. It was a 2,000-seat venue, and it enabled them to showcase the number of the stars whose careers they had been fostering for the prior decades. Pearl Bailey was discovered by one of the Steeples, Sam. She was a schoolgirl in Philadelphia, and he permitted her to practice her act after the shows at the Pearl. And many years later, she came to perform at the Uptown.
The Chitlin Circuit existed because of segregation. As simple as that. It was a string of theaters and clubs, originally in the South, where black artists played in front of black audiences.
This series of venues included 5 major theaters, of which we own 3. We had the Uptown in Philadelphia, the Royal in Baltimore, and the Howard in Washington. The Apollo in New York is the best known. There was also the Regal in Chicago.
The Uptown, it was always a famous place to go to because they had vaudeville acts there, like Pearl Bailey and the Nicholas Brothers and the Mills Brothers.
I went to the Uptown as a kid to see Pearl Bailey, but Pearl Bailey's husband was Louis Bellson. And I didn't know Lloyd Boston was her husband. He was the first drummer ever to have 2 bass drummers on a stage. I was just amazed at that because nobody had ever done that before.
One of the things that's often overlooked are the terrific gospel singers we had, such as Clara Ward and her singers. And the theater would often pair her with a religious film. So I remember seeing, I think it was in 1956, 10 Commandments. And I can tell you, Charlton Heston as Moses and Clara Ward on the same bill made for quite a powerful duo.
Some of the kind of really important acts were the comedians. And they would perform early and they killed with their audiences.
I remember seeing many comedians, Red Fox, Jackie Moms Mabley, and Pigmeat Markham. Pigmeat Markham's act was satirized courtroom decorum, and he had a signature line, "Here come the judge."
His Honor, Judge Pigmeat Markham. Here comes the judge.
And those of you who may remember the popular series Laugh-In on TV, he was given a cameo role, and every now and again he would appear.
I got to see Moms Mabley, Pigmeat Markham, and Red Fox at the Uptown. Oh my God. Moms Mabley, she was something else. Yes, she was.
Well, I think the first thing important to understand about Georgie Woods is he's really a man of his moment. And by that I mean he is part of the Great Migration. He's born in Georgia to a segregated world. It follows the railroad, first to New York and then to Philadelphia, like tens of thousands and millions of others of his generation.
He was working on a couple of the local radio stations, WHAT and WDAS, and he was hired in 1957 to start producing shows at the Uptown.
Georgie was the game, black-white, in Philadelphia. And you had Jonko Henderson, Kay Williams, Daddy K, they called him, Lloyd Leroy. They had all these different guys. They all meant something, but Georgie was the one that everybody loved.
The history and the past that Georgie Woods has for me in my life goes way back to my childhood. He was on early in the morning, so while we were preparing to go to school, you know, occasionally we'd be listening to some sounds that he played on the radio.
I used to call him on the air in the morning just to say, "Thank you, George. I heard you playing my record last night. I was listening to the radio, and I just listened to WGS all day, all night."
Georgie Woods, like everyone else, is looking for a side hustle. And the Uptown was sort of one of his side hustles.
As a disc jockey, you know, the job didn't play that much. So we used that to supplement the funds that we didn't get from the radio station. So that's how I got involved in it. It was designed to attract people. And I tell you, I didn't have any idea about attracting anybody special. It was an idea of attracting people who was going to pay 50 cents to get and see the show.
Georgie Woods would come on with his little movements and singing, "Oh, Mary, don't you weep." He couldn't sing or dance. It was so funny. So we laughed a lot. Doc Bagby was the first musical director at that time. Georgie Woods' theme song was Doc Bagby's Joyride. The Joyride song would come on and you knew the show would start then.
I remember that song. It was wonderful.
Sam Reed was the house director of the Uptown Theater. He ran the band, he hired the musicians. His wife was Sarah Dash from Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, and LaBelle also. If somebody comes in, like say James Brown, they don't have music, so the musicians could play the music and the audience wouldn't go off on them because it didn't sound like the record. They came close to the record. Earl Young is the father of disco drumming and house music drumming. He was the house drummer for the Uptown Theater. Sam Reed hired him, gave him his first job there.
Jackie Wilson was on the show, and Jackie Wilson always got his own drummer. His drummer didn't show up, and I had to play for Jackie Wilson. We were doing Lonely Teardrops. I played it, he came back with me, he thanked me very much and said, Earl, you did a good job, gave me a little bonus for it. If it wasn't for Sam Reed, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. Working at the Uptown, I got to meet everybody.
Legends of mid-century American jazz played there. Count Basie played there. Art Blakey played there. Miles Davis played there.
The one Christmas show, Miles Davis was there, but he didn't stay because it was Christmas Day and the audience was very small, and you know, Miles didn't like anything like that. So he left the engagement, so.
He didn't play.
Well, he played the first set, but after that he told him, back up, let's get out of here.
There were a list of established acts already playing at the Uptown and the Apollo, again, before Motown. There's black music and black music that crosses over, but Berry Gordy really perfects that. He's thinking about how he can create an art form that will appeal to the largest group of people.
Everybody liked Motown. Motown was the up-and-coming guy, the underdog, whatever you want to call him. And he's black owned. That was all new. And so, you know, people played those records. White kids started listening to the black music instead of white music because it was more to it. The harmonies with black groups is far superior to white. It's not even a contest.
When Pat Boone did Ain't That a Shame, and then when you hear Fats Domino, Ain't That a Shame, you can hear the rhythm. And I'm a dancer, so I can hear a rhythm beat. And black soul music is a part of my life, you see. I can hear the real deal and the phony deal. They played a song When the Love Light Comes Shining Through His Eyes. That was the first song the Supremes ever really had. And I busted it locally in Philly.
We used to come to Philadelphia a lot. First hit was Where Did Our Love Go? But we had recorded like 6 or 7 songs prior to that. And this is all while we were in high school. So we were kind of like the local teens who were doing really good, you know. In fact, I recall one of my teachers, Mr. Boone, saying, Miss Wilson, I know you're out there singing with that little group called the Primettes, and if you want to get out of high school, you better pass my English class.
Hi, this is Gary Wilson, and you're listening to The Geeter with the Eater and the Balls with the Hot Sauce. Yo!
These kids, they didn't make any money with this. They would come here and Motown taught them how to dress, how to talk, how to be interviewed. Berry Gordy came from making cars, assembly line worker. He did the same thing with his record company. It was brilliant what he did. Brilliant.
He just can produce act after act. And what does the place like the Uptown need? But they need a new act every week.
Martha and the Vandellas was one of my favorite groups at the Uptown. The Supremes were okay. But Martha and the Vandellas and the Marvelettes, nobody could touch them, not even Diana Ross, in my opinion.
Well, 75 cents in a day, and I think it was 95 cents a night to see 10 acts. 10 of the greatest acts you could see in the world. But, and we just did shows. We didn't care who came.
Stage shows was a big thing back then, you know, and the slate of artists that appeared at the Uptown was amazing to me. The joy of seeing the artists perform live and direct.
You know you make me wanna Ozzy Brothers would come in and they would fly through the air and the audience would just be pumped up and ready to go.
Every time they sang Shout, the audience threw their hands up, jumped up and down. It was just crazy in there.
It was like they was never going to end it. But I mean, we were down here screaming and hollering. It had to be over half an hour, 45 minutes.
And it felt like the whole building was jumping up and down. It was a completely filled audience.
Ron Isley, you know, he get loose. You know, opening his shirt and throwing a tie. And it was just wonderful. Yes, they were the greatest.
Now wait a minute.
Hey, what's the next show, man? James Brown. Really? No, not like James Brown. That's my brother. So what? Well, we did it on the air. Well, just James, you know. James the man, you know. And he's the one. He's the one. Mama's son.
James Brown was a mainstay at the Uptown Theater. He used to use everybody's coats and his band to do his act of Please, Please Don't Go. He would, please don't go. They would put the coat around him, and they would console him off the stage. And before he would hit the wings, he would go, "Oh, baby, no," and sling the coat off, right? They hit the coat because the cleaning bill was too much for them. So he developed the cape.
James Brown was on the show, and Lady was having a baby. And she saw her way to the hospital to have the baby, and she stopped off to say, "I got a TV show at the Uptown," and the water broke. And that's where the baby was born, in the basement here at the Uptown. She named her Georgette because she was born here at the Uptown.
In terms of sheer energy on stage, there were two acts that I recall vividly. One was James Brown, who truly was the hardest working man in show business. And if he was the hardest working man in show business, the hardest working woman was Tina Turner. But she was absolutely a sensational, raw power.
All of them were my favorite because I liked all of them. Once they walked on the stage and I saw the audience react to them, I saw what an important role they played in the production of the show.
The black male acts that were really developing, they really come out of doo-wop in some ways, off the Philly doo-wop scene.
Every street corner had a singing group. We used to challenge, you know, when we was kids, like doo-doo-doo-wop, doo-doo-doo-wop. So we sang doo-wop. So I said, well, look, I'm going to put me a group together. So I got 4 of my other guys and wrote a song and put a record out. The group is called Exceptions, and the record we put out is Down by the Ocean. There was a group called The Volcanoes. They needed a drummer. So I combined my drums and my singing. We joined together as a group.
Earl was the drummer. We had the late Norman Harris, Ronnie Baker helped us in the recording studio, Larry Washington, who played the percussions. Maybe 2 months later, this song was constantly being played, and as people were walking down the street, you could hear them just singing part of it. So when we did the Uptown, it was like we were part of Motown or something. The song was so dynamic. It's a great feeling. A feeling of accomplishment. Those were good days that'll be with me until God calls me home.
The Volcanoes was a group that was managed by Jimmy Bishop. He was a DJ, and he would put on shows at the Uptown, and this was his group.
You're going to come up and see Jimmy Bishop, and you're going to give him a demo. If he likes it, he's going to go into the studio, record it like Yes, I'm Ready.
I don't even know how to love you.
I had written this song called Are You Ready? Jimmy Bishop said, we need to change that to first person. And he said, why don't we call it Yes, I'm Ready?
Yes, I'm ready to learn.
I did not know that the song was going to become what it is today. I went to the Uptown when I was 18 years old. Even now, I can't tell you how it felt because it was just so sudden and it was like magical.
I'm glad I fell in love with you.
Barbara Mason was the major star, but you had Honey and the Bees.
Jimmy Bishop at the time had Barbara Mason. He did not want a single female, but he was interested in a group. And he liked us, and we became his group. And eventually, he named us Honey and the Bees. Nadine Felder being Honey, Gene Davis, myself, and Gwendolyn Oliver comprised Honey and the Bees. Early on, when we got a chance to play the Uptown, that's when it felt like we struck another level. We got an encore the first time that we performed there. That for me was like, oh my God, we're ready. We can do this.
There were several famous kind of white acts that played the Uptown. Georgie Woods would play the Magnificent Man on his show. And so they would show up at the Uptown, and when they would come out on stage, they would gasp a little bit. They just didn't expect to see a white band.
I know it's just a matter of time. Oh yeah, we love that.
Famously, at one point, they are on the road and they back James Brown. They were an example of what Georgie Woods would name blue-eyed soul. He was thinking about the Righteous Brothers when he first came up with that term, but white acts who had a black sound to them, or at least borrowed from black musical traditions.
And you know the Temptones, which Jimmy Bishop recorded, Darrell Hall. Then they went on to become Hall & Oates, with John.
And Tuesday night was described as Temple night. It was really, I think, a code word that whites were welcome and invited, and perhaps the most famous duo of white Temple students who found their way to the Uptown were Hall & Oates.
There was this one old white man, everybody called him Pops. He went to every show. When the music would come on, he would go berserk. He would be in his chair, but he would be flailing, dancing in his chair, and he had a ball, just enjoying the music and the young people.
On a stage with 10 other acts, no, how do you get remembered? And they know pretty early on that audiences are going to remember the way they look and the way they dance.
You could not get on stage and just sing in the microphone. You had to dance. If you were boring, you would get booed off the stage. At the end of the show, Georgie Woods would say, anybody want to dance? Come on up. And oh my goodness, the people would run, not walk, to the stage.
I used to go up and dance on the stage. We did a dance called a slop, chicken, and we did a split. We did a split on the stage and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of movements that the young people were doing on the stage at the Uptown were copied by the acts and then made known nationally. George Jefferson, that dance he did was the dance we performed on stage at the Uptown. George Jefferson made the Philadelphia slop famous nationally.
And Georgie Woods would let many people come up there and dance because it was good, it was safe, no violence or nothing like that. Those were some of the wonderful days there.
You have to remember that dance and music are marriage. One did not happen without the other. Dance used to come back as an important part of our community.
The community was, as my mother would call it, a blue-collar community.
It was a nice community. We had all kind of businesses there. Many of them were black-owned businesses. Like Don's Do Shop, he did everybody's hair. All the entertainers came to Don's Do Shop to get their processes done.
My mother was the cashier at the Uptown. Everybody knew that was my mother. When I was in school, they wanted to be my friend simply because they could get in free. This is Miss Evelyn Pope Turpin with Georgie Woods at the VPA Club down the street from the Uptown Theater where the entertainers would go after the show. She worked her way up to the first African-American female manager of the Uptown Theater.
The community is gone. Homes are no big people, but it's very important.